Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. So today is another list. This time I asked Rock 4 to list the top 10 best drummers, the top 10 underrated drummers, and the top 10 worst drummers. And so we'll be checking out those three separate lists and see what everybody thinks. And just wanted to also mention that sometime today on my Canadian Studmuffin channel, I'm going to be posting my latest video where I read, viewer comments. It used to be called bad grammar, but it's reading viewer comments, and a lot of negative ones, not always directed at me, but at, as you can see, this one was directed at Gene Simmons of Kiss. So please check that out. And I do realize when, somebody uses AI to ask a question, not everybody's going to like the answers, but this is a simple way for me to get a top 10 list that's out there on the internet. And Grok 4 goes through all of these different music sites and, fan-based sites and comes up with a list. Not that it's going to be, every list is going to be different, but this is just for fun, and see what you think about the lists. Here we go. So when I asked for the top 10 best drummers overall, of course it comes back with the spiel that it's highly subjective, just like any list would be. But these were the ones that it came up with. Number 1, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. I think most people would agree with that, at least him being, in the top 5. But number 1 here, Neil Peart of Rush at number 2. Keith Moon, number 3. A little, maybe I would feel that's a little high, but I could see him being in the top 10. Ginger Baker of Cream. Ian Pace of Deep Purple. Dave Grohl of Nirvana and Foo Fighters. Yes, he used to be a drummer. Ringo Starr. Yeah, good to see him there. Underrated for his subtle song-serving pocket and inventive fills. Roger Taylor of Queen. Danny Carey of Tool. And Phil Collins. It's nice. Yeah, I'm wearing a Genesis t-shirt. What a coincidence. Yeah, Phil Collins, I don't know if he's underrated. I think at least most drummers would know that he's, a top-notch drummer, and a lot of music fans too. But, since his huge solo career in the 80s, I guess maybe some people don't realize what a superb drummer that he was. So overall, a pretty good list. I don't know about Dave Grohl being in the top 10, or even Roger Taylor, even though, he is a good drummer. But who's missing? I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comment section below. All right. Next up is top 10 underrated. So it goes through the same spiel, of course. So underrated, number 1, Ringo Starr. Often dismissed as simple, but his inventive song-focused fills and impeccable timing on tracks that come together revolutionized pop rock drumming with subtle genius. Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones. Topper, is it Head-On or Headon of the Clash? I never say his last name, so not sure how you pronounce it, but he was an excellent drummer, or is an excellent drummer. There you go, Phil Collins, yeah, Genesis. Sometimes a drummer will appear on more than one list. Larry Mullen Jr. of U2. I know I've read some people complain about U2's rhythm section being like the worst. I've seen them live in concert. They're great. I think Larry Mullen Jr. is a really good drummer. Ian Pace of Deep Purple, underrated. Terry Bozzio, Frank Zappa, and Missing Persons. Number 8, Clive Burr of Iron Maiden. I'm not familiar with his drumming. Number 9, Tim Herb Alexander. Not familiar with his drumming much. And then Dominic Howard from Muse. I've done some song reactions for the band Muse on my Patreon, and I've always given really good ratings for the band. So they're pretty good. Okay. Now I could have gone with overrated, but I decided just to do one more, and this is the worst. I wonder who is number 1. It's Lars Ulrich from Metallica, often called out for inconsistent timing, limited technical ability, and a groove-less style, especially on albums like Saint Anger. He's topped polls for worst drummer due to perceived sloppiness in fast metal contexts. Number 2, Meg White of the White Stripes. I thought she was a good drummer. A basic drummer, but she was good. Number 3, Peter Criss of Kiss, accused of basic skills, poor timing, and being carried by the band's theatrics. I thought, at least early on, in the 74, 75, I thought he was a very good drummer. But what do I know? Number 4, there you go again, Keith Moon on more than one list. Keith Moon, worst. I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, that's what makes him unique. No steady groove. He was a one-of-a-kind drummer, but I thought he was excellent. Ginger Baker of Cream, I don't agree with that either. Faulted for indulgent overplaying. That could label a lot of musicians. Travis Barker of Blink-182, I'm not really into that band, but I'm sure he's not one of the worst drummers in rock. Charlie Watts, what is he doing in the worst list? Get out of here. Tommy Lee, Motley Crue. Once again, I don't like Motley Crue at all, but is he a bad drummer? I don't think so. Just ask him. Matt Cameron, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. I think he's a very good drummer. Seen as middling and underwhelming, with draggy feels, boring fills, and failure to lay down strong grooves across 2 major grunge bands. Yes, Don Henley made the list. I hope he's not watching, because he might sue me. Don Henley, noted for stiff, uninventive technique that feels rigid and lacking in flair, making him one of the more awkward drummers in classic rock despite his vocal talents. And that is it. So who would you consider underrated that's not on this? Well, Karen Carpenter, right, of the Carpenters. She was an excellent drummer. Bill Ward of Black Sabbath. There, like I always say, after the video is done, I'm done recording, then I'll remember all the drummers. But yeah, I'd love your thoughts on the worst, the best, and the most underrated. What would be in your list, and what do you agree with on this list or, disagree with? Thank you for watching. Please remember to like the video. Leave a comment below. Make sure you're subscribed and check out my other video coming today on my Canadian Studmuffin channel. Goodbye.